So who would think that in 2018 we'd be talking about Combiner Wars? And who would think that you'd be helping me to solve a conundrum, a problem, an issue? Well, you're gonna when we look at this guy. It is the Transformers Prime Wars Combiner Wars Special Edition Blast-Off with the exclusive Prime Master Megatronus, even though we already have a Megatronus. But that's not my concern, my quandary. Here's my concern. Do I use this blast-off as part of my Combaticons, as part of Bruticus, or do I stick with this blast-off? Well, that's going to be our topic in the latest GotBot True Review. Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. I'm your host, Dennis Moulton, aka GotBot. As always, please like, comment, share, and of course subscribe. You know by now that it helps me out tremendously. And this is Blast-Off. I have done custom paint work on this guy to make him more animation accurate. Now I know a lot of people might say, hey, if that's the case, why didn't you just get the Unite Warriors version? Because I didn't find that to be that animation accurate. Yes, the paint apps were in the right places, but that caramely brown just threw me off. If nothing else, I like the brown on the Combiner Wars like jet version of Blast-Off, and I did custom paint work on this guy as well. Comparing the two, I mean, they're similar in terms of their coloring. Similar. The purple's a little different, the brown's a little different, but we'll see that closer. In terms of their vehicle mode, robot mode, and limb mode, well, they're quite different. Which one is better? Which one should I use? Well, we're going to focus on this guy with a few nods to this guy as we go through. I guess I'll kind of make my decision, but yeah, I definitely want to know what you guys think on it. Anyway, enough of me kind of lamenting these two. Let's head over to the table and take a closer look at this guy. So I said that I wasn't sure if I was going to be in for a blast-off that turns into a shuttle because I kind of like the plane. But when it was kind of announced that, hey, look, we have 3 figures representing each of the 3 steps of the Prime Wars Trilogy, I kind of wanted all 3. You know, I kind of wanted all 3, and of course this is the representation of Combiner Wars, and you're going to help me figure out a dilemma today. As I mentioned, this is the box that Blast-Off comes in. He of course represents the Combiner Wars component of the Prime Wars Trilogy, so this is kind of a nice send-off to the Combiner Wars line, circa 2015-ish. I love the box. It is tremendous. Beautiful artwork of Blast-Off on the front. Very nice on the side as well. On this side, we just have all of the primes, I guess. When we come to the front, we can open up the window. And inside, the background over here is the schematics for the Combiner Wars characters. This little window is where Megatronus is housed, because he comes with an exclusive Prime Master. And we have a whole kind of right up over here about Combiner Wars, you know, how like the Autobots and the Decepticons, like, you know, use the, I don't know, Enigma combination, or they learn the ability to combine to, you know, combat for dominance across the galaxy or something. I don't know. I'm not sure what it says. It is what it is. It was that typical sort of Combiner Wars write-up of the time. On the back, of course, it is mentioned how we would be able to have him combine with his fellow Combaticons to form the mighty Bruticus. As mentioned, I have custom work done with mine. But this is, of course, the stock way he looks, and I will tell you right now, because it will be difficult to kind of say it when we look at the actual figure with the custom work I did, but based on the colors, straight out of box, the stock coloring of this guy out of box, and the stock configuration of his body, because you'll notice it is reversed from the Unite Warriors version, where the nose cone basically is on his back, and the underbelly of the shuttle is now his chest. This is a perfect 10 for his G1 toy iteration, and the kind of North American Combiner Wars releases were very inspired by toy accuracy. The Unite Warriors releases were very inspired by animation accuracy. So this is a perfect 10 for toy accuracy. None of these guys come with the ever popular collector card, but he does come with this instruction sheet. It is on way better paper stock than we ever get nowadays. It's a glossy paper. It just folds out, and it doesn't fold funny. It just accordions out and accordions back up. It is really nice instructions. I wish that instructions were always done like this. He also comes with, as you might guess, the good old Combiner Wars hand-foot piece. Here it is as a foot. When you pop out the fingers and bring down this thumb, like there it would be as a hand, except I don't have the fingers out. And of course, when you just, I guess, fold it like this and hold it like that, it's a blaster. Now, here's the thing. This in particular one, you'll notice has silver paint on it. None of the other members of Bruticus have silver paint, so for me this is kind of useless unless I can get another hand that has silver paint and is sculpted the same. So I'll probably use the hand of the plain version of Blastoff to, you know, go in the combined mode. Nevertheless, he does come with this if you like silver instead. It's small, it's simple, it's black, but it's a nicely molded blaster. And it not only fits in his hand, but because of this little bump up here, it really becomes the landing gear in shuttle mode on the front, which is cool. And the guy is covered in ports, as we will see. So this can store ever so many places in robot mode, including, of course, in his hands. And it's nice. I like it. I dig it. And he comes with this exclusive Prime Master. This is Megatronus. I think it's a mix of black plastic and translucent pink plastic painted gray. It looks pretty cool for the paint job. I guess the translucent pieces are supposed to be like flaming pieces. It looks cool here. Now let's address the elephant in the room first, because we have two versions of Megatronus. One is a mix of light gray and dark gray with a silver face. That's the stock one that comes inside of Bomb Burst. The other is the exclusive one that comes here. That's a mix of black with a black face and red translucent plastic. I think they both look fine. Neither one of them are exactly what I picture as Megatronus. If you want to know my reference for that, it's either the Voyager class Revenge of the Fallen version, or it is the version from the Covenant of Primus. I showed both of those off when I looked at the Wave 3 Prime Masters very recently. So, I don't know, which one do you like better? I don't think that getting this exclusive Megatronus is a reason to get this exclusive figure. It's not like it's better. Here they are both in robot mode. They move exactly the same, both pinned at the knees, pinned at the hips. They can get in a seated position. The arms are on little ball joints. The head is on little ball joint. It is what it is. So here they are in robot mode, and here they are in their prime, not armor, I don't know what you call this, prime mode. I don't know what you call this, prime block. I'll say this, the exclusive one looks more like it is, you know, in flames, which I feel like that's accurate for Megatronus, for the Fallen. Like, he should be a fire, a blaze, so it sort of matches there, but like, I don't know. This is purely aesthetic choice. By the way, some people have said, hey, I find the translucent plastic to be very brittle, or hey, I find the joints on the exclusive, because it's translucent plastic, to be very loose. The tolerances on both of mine are exactly the same. In fact, both of them have a little looser left arm than right arm. And I don't feel like the translucent plastic is any more brittle than the thin plastic that's used on the ball joints for the regular release. I mean, we're not talking very big ball joints. Don't be rough with these guys. So this one is up to you. I don't need two of these. So the solid color one will stay as Bomb Burst. The clear one, I don't know. It'll probably... I'll throw it in a bag somewhere, I guess. Whatever. Don't care about that, because that's not the main event here. That's not the main concern, and that's not the source of my dilemma. The source of my dilemma relates to this guy. Now, which version of Blast Off do I go with? I looked at the plain version of Blast Off that was released oh so long ago, way back in episode 81. Man, was that a long, long time ago. I looked at my custom Combiner Wars Blast Off, the plain version, compared to the FOC Blast Off. And I said then that the FOC Blast Off at least won in terms of being a shuttle. But in terms of being a better figure, a better limb, a better Blast Off, the plain version won, despite being a plane. And this is 2018. I've had 3 long years to get used to having my Bruticus with a Blast Off that's a plane. And I, like many people, got to the point where I said, you know what, it matches, man. They're Combaticons. We have a tank. We have like a military jeep. We have we'll say a military helicopter and an artillery truck. I guess that's what Onslaught would be, an artillery truck. So the fighter jet sort of look made sense, as where a shuttle didn't. So I never really kind of thought that I'd get this guy until I realized, hey, he's part of like a trio celebrating the Prime Wars Trilogy. Gosh, I kind of got to get him now. And of course, I knew this mold from the Unite Warriors version, and while I appreciated that it was a shuttle, that kind of coffee brown, that sort of caramely color, it didn't seem right to me. At least, though being a plane, the brown on the Combiner Wars version seemed more accurate. Now, that being said, I did custom work on both of these guys. And I said already that in terms of being a representation of the toy Blast Off, fresh in a package, the shuttle one is a pure 10. What about in terms of animation accuracy with the custom paint apps that I did? Well, let's put him in the orientation that he should be in for that mode. So, I'm going to take the head and I'm going to turn it around. I'm going to turn the waist around. I'm going to turn the arms around. And we're putting him basically in the configuration for Unite Warriors. Now we can kind of accurately compare the two of these. I like the shuttle one, and I did put silver on his face and black on the top of his head. I left his eyes sort of that lavender color. I put a couple of lines on his chest to represent these 3 intakes, I suppose. And I've done his shins in black and his feet in purple. So he ended up being a pretty decent representation. What did I do on the new Combiner Wars Blast Off, the special edition one? I done his faceplate and his eyes all gray, gloss gray. I used almost like a fuchsia lavender sort of color just on his head crest, and there is molded in detail there. It's just a little touch. I've done it with a toothpick. The top of his head I again did black. On his chest I did purple, but I didn't bring it all the way down. Like, I didn't do it across right here, though by rights you probably should. I kind of like the Decepticon symbol on the brown there, so I just left it. I was cool with that. There was sort of a lavender color right here on his wrist. I did that over in a brown umber, and I've done his thrusters in purple as well, just like I did on his chest, and some black on the sides. Because I did leave a couple of little things, oh, and I've done black on his hips here as well. Because I did leave a couple of little things, I would say as an animation representation of Blastoff, the Shuttle Special Edition version is the closest one that we have in Combiner Wars, and with the custom paint apps that I did, I think it's the closest you're going to get. Yes, the Unite Warriors one is probably a solid 9.75. Arguably that brown is way too bright. I'm going to say that mine here now is about a 9.5. I think it's pretty good. In terms of the articulation, this one is pretty great. It has free range of motion in everything. So what about the new special edition one? Well, we're going to take the plain one out of it because that's not our focus here, but we will see him when we compare leg mode, arm mode, and of course vehicle mode. So taking him out of it, we take our paint apps of 9.5 and go from there. Now remember, if you were looking for toy accuracy, this guy's currently getting a 10. If you're looking for animation accuracy, well, without the custom paint apps, his animation accuracy is, you know, like a 5, 6, something like that. It's not great. But with the paint apps, it's a 9.5. So overall, for embodying the character, we're going to say 9.5. Articulation, well, the very first thing is the shoulders are really high. And some people like to angle them down like that, which you can do and it looks probably more correct, but if you do that, the way the arms are, you really can't go forward or back. They're meant to be up. So we're going to take them up. Now, the head, it can go left, right, it can look up, way down, but not up a lot, but yeah, way down into his chest, I guess. The arms, they can go all the way around. We have super deep elbow, I mean all the way up. We have a bicep swivel. They can go way out to the side. We do have a nice waist. Forward, no problem at all, totally unhindered. Back, totally unhindered. Thigh swivel, knee to 90 degrees. We have little bit of ankle tilt at the toes. I don't think there's anything else I could want on the guy. Maybe something at the wrist, arguably something at the wrist, but he does pretty much everything I want him to do. I'm going to say easily 9.5 again. It's pretty solid indeed. For the record, his elbows are deeper than the plain version. The plain goes about 90 degrees. His elbows bend all the way up. With the plain version, though the legs move exactly the same, there is no ankle tilt. This guy has a little, ever so slight bit of ankle tilt. And though the plane can look way up, he can't really look down without using the kind of combiner peg. So I think the advantage to the articulation goes to this guy slightly. Okay, so we're going to go to, I guess, the alt mode first, and then we'll do the leg mode, and from there the arm mode. Makes sense to me. So, yeah, so I like this guy for the most part. So far he's getting a 9.5. It's a solid figure. And I've gotten this far and absolutely forgot to show everywhere that this guy can place the blaster that he comes with. Now, I guess technically what I kind of show here will sort of cover all of his modes, even though he's in robot mode right now. The guy is covered in slots for 5mm pegs. Naturally, he can hold this in his hand, as you would well expect. And, you know, that's fine, whatever. He has two, I guess, peg holes here and here under his arm. So if you don't want him to hold it in his hand, hey, he could either put it in the lower one or the upper one and hide it sort of behind his arm, I guess. So there's two more options. So that's what? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. If you count his hands, that's 6 locations for it. Under the wings here, so he could place it there. So that's 6, 7, 8. That's 8 blasters you can have on this guy. And the very last are 2 slots over here on the chest, or back in this case, and you can place it there. Now, for me, I feel like that's nice in robot mode if you don't want it in his hand. You know, that's a nice option right there. I also find that placing it in like the chest, we'll say, location there is another good option when he's in arm mode. And of course under the wings, you know, that's a great option in vehicle mode. But in vehicle mode, it's very interesting. This actually has a 9th spot where it can store, and it's sort of intended to store there in vehicle mode. And it's a nice throwback to when, like, the accessories were basically meant to incorporate. I think it's so nice. By the way, his hand-foot piece can also, like, peg into all of these areas if you are so inclined. Okay, I wanted to cover that. Now let's get into the transformation. So how do we get to the shuttle mode? Well, we're going to lift off his chest first. And we're going to... I have to bring up this nose. Now, I was a while figuring this out and popped it off, as so many other people have. Because you want to flip the nose down and then try and lift the hinge up. Don't do that. You're going to make life harder on yourself. Leave the nose folded. Bring the hinge all the way up, making sure the nose is still folded. The hinge will click in as it just did. And after it clicks in, then you can straighten the nose up. Put those sides down. Don't do anything else right now. We're going to come down here at the waist now, and we're going to turn it around. So there's one extra, I guess, transformation step when you are opting to use the animation accurate version. Otherwise, these legs would already be facing the right way. Like if you're sticking with the toy accurate deco, then these legs are already facing the correct way. Fold out and fold out the wings on the sides. We're going to just sort of bring the arms up over now to make this easier to see. We need to bring the legs up. Now we don't exactly combine or wars them because the legs don't split. There's a hinge in here. We kind of do the same thing with these legs as we do with Power of the Prime Swoop, where we angle it out and bring it up. We angle it out, we bring it up. And then these legs go together and these tail fin pieces go together. And all of that should tab in pretty securely. Oh, I just popped something there. Like that. Then we come to the feet, and the feet we just bring down and we bring up and over. We bring down at this hinge in right here and we bring up and over. The arms, they will come down on the side. Come down on the side using that shoulder hinge basically. And then we bring the shuttle piece down over the front. and make sure that it tabs in. And in the end, boom, here you have him in his shuttle mode, except for one thing. Under right here we have a peg. We can take his blaster and it will peg up right there. Easier than what I'm making it look. There, wow, did I have time with that. And it gives him a front landing gear, which I think is really cool. So we're going to get in a little closer on this to take a better look at it, along with the airplane version of himself. And what do you prefer? Plane or shuttle? Shuttle is definitely G1 accurate, even though it doesn't really fit in with the rest of the team. A strong argument could be made for the plane. Easily. The plane looks good and it fits in, and it's still like colored, you know, respectably well for blast off. Like it's in that ballpark, there's no doubt about it. Before we go on to his leg mode, I'm going to take the plane version out of it and we'll just look closer at the shuttle just for a second. Now, stock-wise, there's an awful lot of brown. In fact, the entire top of this guy is brown in the kind of way he comes out of package. And these thrusters that are purple now in the back are black. Outside of that, I really didn't get rid of any wing detailing or anything like that. The shuttle is pretty much the same, except now we have purple thrusters and there's some purple up on the canopy, along with a little bit of black. But like, it's still the shuttle. I do wish that something else was done with the arms instead of having them hang out on the side, but like, you know, what can you do? I mean, such is life sometimes, you know? It's not that I have a huge problem with it, I don't, but it's one of those things like, I feel like something a little bit better probably could have been done. Okay, so I guess it's time for us to get to the leg mode. We'll do that first, and then we'll go back to the arm mode. And it's not too hard to get there, to be honest with you. Actually, I'd venture to say it's probably really easy. So, we come here, and we fold those down as if they were going to be his feet again. And now we have our combiner port up right there. I guess you could fold those in if you want. And I'm just going to back this up slightly. Now that we have that much done, we basically come back here and bring this down. I'm going to take his blaster out of it. We fold the nose cone forward. We fold the head forward and bring up the combiner peg behind. And now we're going to angle this nose piece in, as if we were making his chest again, and we're going to fold it up. I got that head down too far. And we will take his foot and put it in there. And boom, there he is as a leg. I don't like his head hanging out right here. I don't know, like I hardly care about this because he's not a leg, he's an arm. I'm never going to use him as a leg, but here he is next to the other Combiner Wars version. That's a leg of himself. You'll notice, by the way, the purple, maybe you haven't noticed, but the purple is darker on the jet version. The brown is darker on the shuttle version. Slightly, just slightly different. You'll also notice that the hand-foot piece of the plain version is just gray. Hand-foot piece of the special edition shuttle version has silver. But there they are, side to side, as that. You know, I mean, it is what it is. Okay, last but not least, we're going to go to the arm mode for both of these guys. We'll begin by removing that piece and taking these arms out, and we'll just bring them straight up over again here for now. We're going to split the legs, and we're going to accordion them down as if we were going back to, you guessed it, robot mode. And once they are down, we can put them once again back together. Now, you can also take this, and is this the arm that he becomes? Yeah, I think this is the arm that he becomes. Yeah, we put the combiner peg down, and we fold that arm up, and we fold that arm up. Now, by rights, you're supposed to turn here at the waist, and is that the way? No. You're supposed to say turn here at the waist, and you would have the elbow be the hips, but like the knees aren't, and you would have all of this be black, and the thrusters there would be black, and that's the way everything would be. I don't think that's a great way to do the arm. I would do it this way so that you have the hips and the knees be able to come together and work as an arm. We take the hand-foot piece and we bring that in right there, and boom, here he is as an arm. And like, it looks like a cool arm, I guess, I suppose. It's as functional as any other Combiner Wars arm, where we have the bicep swivel there, we have a double elbow because of the knees and the waist, we have a shoulder, and like, because these arms bend up like this, they're not really in the way of anything at all. I think this is kind of an elegant way to do the arms. Speaking of arms, here he is. And here they both are as arms. Now, yes, I know the hand is splayed out as if it was a foot, but it was the easiest way to stand them up. They're both effective arms. Depending on how you position the shoulders of the plane robot in combine mode here, it might get in the way, it might not. Neither of these are hard transformations, but I feel like there's less fiddliness with the shuttle, even though if you don't know how to do that nose cone, it's going to pop off on you every single time. Once you know how to do it, it's pretty easy. I'm going to say, and like, it's an interesting enough transformation without being overly complicated that, like, hey, it'll kind of get you involved, but you get there pretty smooth. I'm going to say his transformation is, again, a 9.5. I think that either is fine. If you're cool with having Bruticus have a plain version of Blast Off for an arm, no, you don't need to spend the money, you don't need to do the hunting to get the shuttle version. You just don't. Perhaps you even prefer the plain version. But if you have been on the fence and you're thinking, should I get the shuttle version? Up to this point, I would say it's a 9.5. It is a solid figure. It's great. But the final test comes in how it looks on Bruticus. Speaking of which, though a custom, this is what I have always had for Bruticus. And I've been fine with this for the last 3 years. Of course, now I have another option, and that option is this for my Bruticus. Oh, decisions. And then, of course, lastly and finally, it's my personal favorite option, which involves first removing that silver hand and putting the gray one from the Jet Blast Off in there, because at least now the hands match, and opening out the actual nose cone up here. You can leave it folded down into his chest, or you can open it out like this, which I think does give a little bit more symmetry between both shoulders. By the way, though I didn't show it in leg mode, if you're so inclined, you could also leave this nose cone opened out. It would sort of point up, sort of like the nose of the Jet, but it's an option. Of course, all that said, I'm not going to use this guy as a leg because he's never been a leg. I don't really think you should use him as a leg either. But hey, that's just me being critical. I like this. Plus, hey, it was an excuse to use my new little turntable thing here. This, to me, like kind of completes Bruticus. This is the way that I believe he should be represented. You might have a different idea, and hey, that's cool too. The Unite Warriors version is nice. I think the brown is too light, but it's certainly nice. I was fine with the jet being on this guy. Like I said before, many times, I wasn't going to get the shuttle, but now that I have him, like, I'm glad that I did. So, there's really two things to consider here. First, it's aesthetics. And having the nose cone up and the legs positioned this way, and the paint apps done that I wanted done on him, this matches the aesthetic nicely for me for Bruticus. You know, like there's how he looks side on. Here's the back. The other side, and right back around front, just because it was an excuse to use my little turntable thingy. I dig it. I absolutely dig it. But what about functionality? Because the jet was a pretty functional arm. It was great. What about this arm? Well, it can go out to the side. Now, to be fair, this might slightly get in the way, and you may have to move it a little bit, but it can go all the way out to the side. And I didn't have it locked in here. Maybe I should do that first. It can go all the way around, just like the jet could. We still have like a bicep swivel. We still have that deep elbow. We still have the wrist. It's every bit as functional as the jet. The only possible hindrance here might be the nose cone, but you know what? You had that same sort of issue potentially with the jet, and it never really bothered me. It never really got in the way. By the way, the blaster in this mode, I tend to store it right here. I think I said you could store it on the chest. My mistake. I tend to store it right here. It's in one of the slots underneath his like robot mode arm. But it kind of hides behind the silhouette of the combined mode arm nicely so that you don't really notice it. Here's my takeaway from this. If you've been on the fence about it, and you think that this sort of look really sort of solidifies what Bruticus should be for you, then hey, he's worth getting. It's a solid figure in and of itself worth having. But if you're content with the jet, if you don't want to have to try and sort of hunt this guy down, if you don't want to pay a little bit of a premium, because he comes at a little bit of a premium, I think largely because of Megatronus being included, but nevertheless, then the jet one's fine. If you're cool with it, there's absolutely nothing wrong with that, and there's a very, very strong argument to be made for how good he is. As a matter of fact, even for me, even though I'm going to replace the jet with, well, the shuttle now, I don't want to get rid of the jet because I think it's a great mold and a great figure. So then what becomes of him? Because I don't need two blast-offs. What's going to become of that jet? Well, I do have a plan in mind, and I'll show it to you guys, assuming that it works out the way that I'm hoping it will. And it might actually sort of tie in to the upcoming Siege line, if you can believe that. But I'll talk more about that another time. Stay tuned for it. Yeah, so the takeaway is this. It's a great figure. If you've been thinking about getting him, it's worth it. I don't think you're going to be disappointed. If you're comfortable passing on him because the jet works for you, hey, I totally understand that as well. And here we are once again, and yeah, the G1 purist in me really kind of has to go with this guy. Like I said, I wasn't going to get it, but when I found out that he's part of a group of 3 technically that's celebrating the end of the Prime Wars Trilogy, how could I resist? It's a pretty great mold. At first, I wasn't a huge fan, especially because that nose cone section tended to pop off whenever it wanted to, and that drove me right up the wall, but in the end, once you know how to handle that, it's an interesting transformation, not overly complex. It's kind of what you would expect for the size class. Not underwhelming, not overwhelming, just kind of just right. I do like the shuttle mode. I guess the leg mode is fine. The arm mode is pretty good, and the robot mode is quite fantastic. I still like this guy. And yes, the plane does fit in. Do you need to get this guy? I don't think so. Not if you're happy with this. But if you're a purist like me, then you probably do. So what about this guy? What becomes of him? Well, like I said, I have an idea of what I want to do to handle him. And it might tie in with the upcoming Siege line, unless I go in a different direction. But I kind of have a plan in mind. We'll see how it works out. We'll see what happens as time goes on. But for now, let me know what you think about this guy. Do you think that he's worth hunting down to kind of add to your Combaticons in your collection? It was for me, and I think he's great if you can get him. Of course, don't overpay for him. Don't overspend. You know, it's a deluxe figure. Granted, there's a little bonus here, and it's nice packaging, so, you know, maybe a couple of dollars over regular retail is all right, but nothing outlandish. Let me know what you think about this guy. You know I love to hear from you guys. I'm going to thank you for giving me some of your extremely valuable time. Please hit the subscribe button, stick around, have some fun with us, and I very much look forward to the next time that you and I get together to have another visit right here inside the videos.